RTO here. Welcome to another album ranking on another dark, dingy day. And today we're going to look at the solo career of Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. No really introductions to him. He's made 9 solo albums. One of them's a collaboration. There's some interesting stuff in here, so I'm not going to go into lots of details on some of them because it's very difficult to rank and talk about each track, so we'll get cracking. So coming in at number 9, we have got his collaboration with Ron Geesin, who'd worked with Pink Floyd on their Atom Heart Mother album, and it's Music from the Body, which is a documentary film about human biology, narrated by Vanessa Redgrave and Frank Finlay. Now they've got all these little bits of incidental music. Weird. It's very disjointed. I couldn't get into this. I never have been able to, as much as I've tried to, because A, I've never watched it, B, I can never find it to watch, so I can't put the bits of music to the film. So I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10, just because it is clever and there are some nice little bits of incidental music on there. Okay, coming in at number 8, this is from 2022, and it's the Lockdown Sessions. Just like most musicians, they put things together on YouTube and that sort of thing. They just did an album that they all sent their clips in during the COVID-19. And on here we got Roger Waters, of course, playing guitar and piano. Dave Kilminster plays guitars. Jonathan Wilson guitars and synthesizers on all tracks. Guy Seffer on bass. Hammond organs played by Bo Costa on some of the tracks. Robert Walter does a couple of bits of piano. So does John Carlin, who does most of the tracks. Drums on all the tracks is Joey Waronker. Backing vocals Lucius on all the tracks. And then you've got saxophone from Ian Ritchie on one of the tracks. Niall Goodrich does the strings on one. And we've got some backing vocals from Amanda Bella and Sinead Johnson on one track. Okay, the first one on here is from Pink Floyd's The Wall, and it is Mother. It's quite good. It's very close to the original, and I don't mind that. Then we have Two Suns in the Sunset from the Final Cut. The only thing that's changed on here is Roger's voice has dropped down. It's more of a that's another. So it's okay. Vera, don't like that at all. Then the best version of any of these tracks is from the Final Cut again, and it's The Gunner's Dream. I do like that track, and this one actually works. Then we've got The Bravery of Being Out of Range from Amused to Death. It's okay, but we'll talk about that later. And the last one here is a very shocking version of Comfortably Numb. Yeah, it's just one of them overs, very mediocre. I suppose it kept their brains ticking. So I'm going to give that one an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 7. This is from 2018, and it's Igor Stravinsky's The Soldier's Tale. Now, this is based on an adaptation of the narration of Igor Stravinsky's 1980 theatrical work. And in 2018, Roger recorded this version with members of the Bridgehampton Chamber Music Festival, and he narrates and adapts the story in his way. It's not a musical album, but it is a very good album. The words are moving. I've got this, and I have put it on my more audio poetry type iPod, and I do listen to it. I must admit, I do like listening to it, but as a musical piece, it doesn't sort of thing, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6. This is 2023. And it's the most current thing that he's done, and it's The Dark Side of the Moon redo. It's in celebration of 50 years of Dark Side of the Moon, and it's his re-recording and his interpretation. Playing on here with Roger is Guy Sifra again, Joey Wonronka on the drums, Jonathan Wilson on guitars and synth, Johnny Shepherd on organ, got Via Mardo on theremin, Anzif Korkulan on vocals, Gabe Noble string arrangements, John Carr in keyboards and lap steel, and Robert Walter on piano. So the first one, of course, is Speak to Me. I really struggle with this. He sounds more like an East End gangster on this, and it sounds a bit like and it mentions bits of Free Fall from Obscure of Clouds, of course. Breathe in the Air, he slowed this right down, it's speaking. I sort of like this interpretation, it's not too bad. It grew on me, this one. On the Run, I do like this in a strange sort of way. It's not the music, but it's actual narration from Roger. That's pretty good. Time's not bad. Slowed it down a little bit. The Great Gig in the Sky, probably the best thing on here. It's a very, very sad version of it. He's talking about a friend that got cancer. It's quite moving. Money, it's a terrible version. I don't like it. Us and Then, I'm not very inspired by this version. It's almost alarming. Any Colour You Like, I've really struggled with this one as well. Then we have Brain Damage, different in place, but I quite like that version. Eclipse is a more subdued version, and it's a real deep version. I mean, when I reviewed this when it came out, I was sort of still sitting on the fence with this one. But I've grown to like this in a different way. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 5 from 2005, it is his opera, Serera, which means it'll be all right in French, and it's based on a libretto written by Etienne and Nadine Rodegill on the historical subject of the early French Revolution. There's so many little bits here. It's split up into scenes. Act 1 has got 5 scenes. Act 2 has got 5 scenes as well. Now on here as well is Nick Mason. He does drums on a little thing called Give Birth to a Smile. It's uncredited, but he is on it. And Hammond organ on Give Birth to a Smile is done by Richard Wright, and you know it is. It's got lots of little bits of music, no more than a minute long in some of them. So we'll be here all day talking about these. But all I'll say, it's a little bit different from Roger. I quite like it. I don't listen to it very often, but when I do enjoy it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.3. Okay, let's move into the more rock style of the tracks of the albums now. So coming in at number 4 is his 4th solo album, and it was released in 2017, and it's called Is This the Life We Really Want? On here, of course, with Roger is Guy Sifra on guitars and bass, Nigel Goodrich guitar, Jonathan Wilson, he's on guitars, Roger Joseph Manning Jr. keyboards, we've got Lee Pardini on keyboards, Joey Wonronka on the drums, Jessica Wolfe, Holly Lassin and Dave Campbell, who does strings, and the other 2 do the vocals. So the first track is a little short thing called When We Are Young. One of them typical Roger intros, ticking of clocks, people talking, you've all heard it before. Deja Vu, I like this. You know, Roger's voice has changed, he can't hit the high notes, but he's sort of adopted. It's quite nice. The Last Refugee comes on. Very solid song. Very dark matter to talk about as well. It's okay though. Then my favourite track on here is a little thing called Broken Bones. This has got that sort of nice, gentle feel to it, a bit like Fat Old Son sort of thing. Nice song, one of the more uplifting songs on this rather dark album. Is this the life we really want? Boring. It's 5 minutes of dirge. I do not like that track. Bird in a Gale. I do struggle with some of these songs. They're very dark and they're quite depressing, but Roger's voice sounds good. The Most Beautiful Girl. Again, it's just, I do struggle with it. It really is depressing. Smell the Roses. This wasn't too bad. Wait for Her is the next one. Very good delivery. I do like that. It's a nice little song. Then we got this short little bit called Oceans Apart. It's a bit like Mother. And then we got the last bit, Part of Me Died. Not a bad song. Good vocal from Roger. As I said, I find this a very dark album, very dark, and the subject matter hard to digest at times. But if you give it a listen, it's a typical sort of dark album from Roger. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have his second solo album from 1987, and it is Radio K.A.O.S. Loads of people play on here, and the DJ is Jim Ladd. So the first track is Radio's Waves. Great song, but it's got lots of that 80s production on it. I do like Jim Ladd on this. It's really good. Who Needs Information? A very good track. I do like the keyboards on that. Really good. And then we have Me or Him. My second favourite track on here. I just love the DJ. I like the distinctive Roger shouting on it. Really good. The Powers That Be. A very 80s song. Catchy tune though. It's not too bad. Home. I like this. It's got the drumming's a bit 80s, but it's pretty good. The 4 minutes, it's all about the 4-minute warning. Yeah. And then the Tiding Turn is Tiding. Life After Lily. It's all right. Not my favourite on the album. Yeah, a lot of songs on here that are good. It's got them 80 tones to it. That's what spoils it. But there is a bootleg live version of this album, and it sounds so much better live. I just wish they would do an official release of this live, because the unofficial release is pretty decent. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the debut album from Roger as a solo artist, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, released in 1984. Joining Roger on here is a load of people, but there are some quite significant. Eric Clapton plays lead guitar and backing vocals on here. Andy Bound from Status Quo plays Hammond organ and 12-string guitar. Composer and producer of this is Michael Kamen on piano. David Sanborn on the saxophone. Madeline Bowd, Comic Kisson and Doreen Chanter on backing vocals. And Andy Newmark, who drummed on some of the tracks on the final cut, is on here as well. So the first track is called 4:30 AM. Apparently they were travelling abroad. I love this, and it's all about Eric's guitar and the structure. I love this. The acoustic 12-string guitar by Andy Bound sounds great on it as well. I do like that track. Second track is 4:33 AM, Running Shoes. We've got that rich organ from Andy. The saxophone is great. Excellent little track. Then we have 4:37 AM, Arabs with Knives on and West German Skies. I love the French accordion on this. The backing girls, vocals from the girls are really moving. Once again, you've got this fine saxophone piece from David Sanborn. Very good. 4:30 a.m. The first time today, part 2. Where's part 1? It just moves along. It's got some nice Hammond in there. Great little bit of guitar work from Eric. 4:41 a.m. Sexual Revolution, one of my favourite tracks on here. It's a great vocal from Roger, and it's a wonderful guitar touches from Eric on that. I do love that. Then we have 4:47 a.m. The Remains of Our Love. Very good. Same. It starts on. It's very similar to the They Were Travelling Abroad. Love that tune. It's really haunting. But my favourite track on here is 4:50 a.m. Go Fishing. What I like about this, halfway through he starts going into the Fletcher Memorial Home from the final cut. Goes back, it's eerie. It's got some great guitar work from Eric, and the sax again is absolutely. And then 4:56 a.m. The First Time Body Today Part 1. Got it the wrong way around. It's one of the short pieces. It's okay. And then we go 4:58 a.m. Dunrimim, Duncan, Dunvillain. Great little track. I love the singing on here. The backing vocals are great. Great Hammond organ from Andy Bown on that. Excellent track. Then my second favourite track on here is 5 a.m. 01. The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking Part 10. I love the backing vocals on this. It's a really good little uplifting number. 5:06 a.m. Every Stranger's Eyes. Apart from the Roger vocal, Eric's guitar is the best on that. And then it ends with this little bit. 5 a.m. 5:11 a.m. The Moment of Clarity. We go back to They Were Travelling Abroad with a different sort of take on it. I think this is a masterpiece. It's a wonderful album, and it's one of them albums that you have to put on and play all the way through. Great having Eric playing on here and Andy Bown. Two great musicians, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. But my number one album from Roger is his third studio album from 1992, and it's called Amused to Death. Lots of people playing on here, and it's all sort of based around a World War One veteran called Bill Hubbard. The Ballad of Bill Hubbard opens up this album. It's very moving, and he's telling a story about a fallen hero. Very moving. Great little track. I do like that. Then we got What God Wants Part 1. The song itself is great. Some great guitar on this. Again, it's so moving. Then Perfect Sense Part 1. I love this because I love the grasshoppers in the background. It's a silly track. A great vocal from Roger, and I do love the piano on this. Perfect Sense Part 2. It's a bit of like a war game. It's very political. The person that's narrating it's brilliant. He's describing a war game. It's quite good. Then we've got The Bravery of Being Out of Range. Now, I do not like the version very much on that Lockdown, but this is brilliant. The guitar work is great. I just love listening to that. Late Home Tonight Part 1. Some nice percussion with the strings and a fantastic vocal from Roger. Then you get Part 2. It's got the brashness. It's got I like it. You've got the effects in it. Very, very good. Too Much Rope, my favourite track on here, and I think this is one of the best arrangements and the best vocal on this album from Roger. God Wants to Be Part 2. I think the only criticism it should have been put with the What God Wants should be all together. It sort of splits it up. But parts 2 and 3 are together. And I like the telephone call on part 3. It's interesting. Watching TV, it's an acoustic track. It's very Bob Dylan, and I do like it. And it's a nice vocal from Roger. And we have 3 Wishes. I love the rhythm on this, the piano and the bass. It's got that bring it back home traits from me, like that. It's a Miracle. The harmonies from the backing vocals are great. It's more spoken word, this is, and it's a great epic as well. Amused to Death is another epic. There's a great solo on it. It's a mixture of speaking, singing, dark, light. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. What I like about this album is it's taken bits from the first 2 albums and combined them together, and it's a story, and it flows really well. You've always got the Bill Hubbard's in there. It's another album you listen to all the way through. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, there we go. There's a little bit of Roger Waters. A really mixed bag of stuff from Roger, but a lot of it's pretty good, especially them first 3 solo albums. Okay, coming up next is Retro Ranking, and today we're going to look at a 60s instrumental band from America called The Ventures. And if you had a guitar family, these were a staple to listen to. So we'll have a look at those. So bye for now.